a distinction in each of your subjects: maths, English home language, physical sciences, life sciences, consumer studies, computer applications, technology.
TCN, TCN, Tumelo Carsanawa. TCN, TCN, Tumelo Carsanawa.
What's going on, TCN fam? It's your boy Tumelo, and welcome back to my channel, where it's fresh. It's all about fresh. We keep it fresh, fresh, fresh. If you're new to this channel, welcome to my channel. I hope you like the content that I serve. If you're a returning subscriber, welcome. Thank you for coming back. And if you're a returning viewer who did not like last time, who did not comment last time, today's video is for the grade 11s who in future, and the grade 12s who will be writing their prelims and final exams. And I'm going to be giving you tips and tricks on how to get 7 distinctions in your prelim and final exams. I got 7 distinctions in prelim, and I got 4 distinctions in the final exam, 2 6s, and an almost distinction. I'll be giving you advice of how to get 7 distinctions, a distinction in each of your subjects. So the subjects I was doing were maths, English home language, physical sciences, life sciences, consumer studies, computer applications, technology. Prelim exams are very similar to the final exam. So once you pass the prelim exam, then you know you stand a high chance of passing the final exam if you don't slacken like me. Because I focused so well in the prelim, I even got the Darkskin Award. So you can do it too if I can do it. So we'll start with general tips that you can apply to your metric and grade 11 life, and then go to specific subjects. The first tip is put God first. I believe in God, so it's all because of God that I was able to get 7 distinctions in prelim and the 4 distinctions in metric. Pray, fast, read your Bible, and trust me, you will make it through. Seek ye first the kingdom of God, then everything else will be added unto you. I would also pray before writing an exam, and then immediately after the exam, I would pray to put everything in God's hands. And if I get extra marks, it should be because of God, you know. The next point is set realistic goals that you'd like to achieve. Write your goals down and stick them somewhere. I wrote, getting 7 distinctions is possible. Imagine the faces of the people you'd like to make proud of the most. So I imagined my parents' faces when they see that I've passed so well. And when I saw their faces, it really made me feel good. Next, set up a time plan. So what I mean by this is, write the hours from midnight, 24 hours, 01, 02, 03, 04, up to 23 hours, 11 p.m. And then divide your time. So from, say you go to school, say you wake up at 6 or 5, start from 5 to 2 p.m. I'm at school. So in this time, I can't study, obviously. Then from 2, maybe you cook, immediately get home. So from 2 up to 3 or 4, I'm the one cooking. In that same time, you should have eaten and everything. I relax for 30 minutes, you're done. Right. Then you look at your sleeping hours. I sleep for maybe 6 hours or whatever. You cancel and you say, maybe if I'm sleeping from 10 up to 6 hours, let me do the math. From 10 up to 4, all this time you label, I'm sleeping. Then you notice you have like 4, 5, 6 hours. And it's in those 6 hours that will determine whether you get distinctions in metric or not, or whether you pass metric or not. So use those hours wisely. Have a realistic study timetable. Don't overload yourself with so much to study, because you just stress yourself at the end of the day. In one night or in one study session, you can study at least 2 subjects, if not 1. And then make sure you study as much as possible. Don't look at the time as you are studying. You can just maybe look at the time once you start. Then don't look at the clock, because your mind will keep on ringing like, I have to study up to 1 hour. You look at the time, you just start driving and driving and driving and driving away, instead of focusing on what you're studying. Then if you feel, no, I'm bored here, like I'm losing concentration here, then you can set a small time frame. Stay away from your phone if you are sitting and studying, because your phone will just distract you, your laptop or TV or whatever it is. Make sure you study in a quiet place that no one can disturb you. Personally, I chose to be waking up to study, because studying in the evening, 1, I would be tired, 2, distractions would come my way. My brothers and mother would just start coming and talking and talking and talking. At the end of the day, I'll just get frustrated and I won't be able to study as much as I wanted to. Have a good sleeping schedule. Make sure at least you sleep for 6 hours, so that you're up and early when you wake up for your day. Don't be defeated and tired. Also, when you're writing exams, make sure you bath, because when you bath, you are relieving yourself, you're refreshing yourself, you're refreshing your mind. But if you just go in the exam all clouded like this, you won't remember, you just be so tired, and that's not good for you. And then studying in the last minute. Well, it is helpful, don't get me wrong, because I was studying. But don't study at the last minute if you don't know what you're doing. Study smart when you're studying at the last minute, because those few minutes can destroy your life if you're not careful. So what you do is this. Say you divided your time, you divided your tasks of studying. So like say maybe for a physics exam, you study work, energy and power and whatever, and then you leave maybe Doppler's effect for the last minute, such that even though you forget about it, it doesn't matter. Even though you just get 1 or 2 marks, it's okay. As long as you studied what you know and it's stuck in your brain. Not that you start confusing yourself with the other things you studied. Then also, if you studied and you know what you studied, you won't get confused. If you go through last minute, you're just polishing up on different areas that you are a bit stuck on. That's it. Not that you're trying to study everything in last minute. Baba, it won't work. It won't work. Next point, use past papers. Past papers. Past papers. Hey, use past papers. Past papers are what is telling you of how the exam is. It's what's said by examiners. You can study a whole full topic and think, no, I'm going to answer the questions. But if you don't know the style in which they ask, then you're setting yourself up for failure, because you start ending up getting confused, because you don't really know like how or what the questions actually mean. So use past papers, and use past papers with memos. Don't rely on that smart friend, because that smart friend is just a learner. And also, to some extent, don't heavily rely on the teachers for those answers to the past papers, because some teachers are not examiners. So they also look at the memos when marking. So be careful. Ask your teacher for guidance, because they're experienced, but use the memos as well. The past papers are even free online on the Department of Education's website. They are free. You can just find some data to download them, but they are free for you to download. It's not like they will stinge you or anything. No. They are there on the website for free. Just search provincial past papers. You can also find this with past papers if you're lucky for some. The Eastern Cape ones, and I think Free State, are the ones which are readily available. Northwest as well. So find them. Eastern Cape especially has nice and readily available past papers. We're now going to go to the specific subjects. So you can skip and go to a subject you'd like. I'll start with at least a general subject that I know almost everyone is doing, and then go to the subjects that only a few individuals are doing. Let's start with life orientation. Hello. In Prelim, I got 85%, which is level 7, and then in the final exam, I got 92. So, if you're in grade 11, when you start in grade 12, you know SBA, right? The SBA will count in your final exam mark. So my SBA was good enough, and it helped push. In term 1 and term 2 of LO, be given to research on a topic. Don't waste that time. Don't waste that time, because those research projects are what's going to help you pass and get a real distinction in metric. Explain your points like a matured person. Don't explain like someone is forcing you and whatnot, because those are your marks at the end of the day. If you think you won't be serious now, like and you think it's a flex, man, I don't know. You keep not knowing. The only thing you know is your metric marks at the end of the day, and you'll be forced to know them. So be serious with what you don't know, so that you know. With the knowledge of the research projects you are doing, use it. It's going to help you if you really understood what you're researching on, so that when you write your prelim exam, you just apply that knowledge. If it hasn't changed, your prelim mark is a test that your teacher is going to set. So ask your teacher to give you the scope, and I think at this point, the teachers will kind of spoon feed you, because they know there's an exam that's coming, and that exam, they won't tell you anything. So make sure you do your best in that test, and that's what's going to be your prelim mark, if I'm not mistaken. Then also study with LO, just study the different concepts. There's not really much you cover with LO, but don't delay the subject, because once you delay LO, then it's time for you, Baba. Also, do the past papers on the department's website. Do those sample questions, look through the memo, ask your teacher. When you're answering questions, answer the question smartly. Look at the question, look at the number of marks the question has. Then look at the number of responses and the depth you're supposed to answer the questions. A 1-mark question shouldn't be answered with a whole paragraph, because you'll just be wasting your time. Then write relevant points. It's not just about explaining and writing a lot. If a question say, what is substance abuse and how does it impact the society? The mark allocation is 4 times 3. That question is basically saying it has somewhat 12 marks. So what's required of you is this. You have to have 4 points. 4 points, because they said 4 times 3. So 4 points, and then each point should be worth 3 marks. So what are you supposed to write in those points? You can start saying, firstly, substance abuse, the use of harmful substances. These harmful substances will intoxicate the body. That's a point, I believe. You can give examples. Abuse such as substances such as cocaine, which therefore causes the body to deteriorate over time. You've written sensible points. You've stated a point and you have validated that point. Then you get your marks. You said another point. Substance abuse impacts the society in a negative way. That's a point. You have to validate that point. Instead of youths, you now give somewhat an example. Instead of youths using their time to be a valuable asset in society, they're instead using their time to do drugs. This in turn will bring a future society which is underdeveloped and lacks moral values and possibly violent. You stated your point. You stated a point, you have validated your points. You stated a qualifier and you've validated your points. You stated what happens in that point and you get your marks. And it goes on, it goes on. Other people say, no, hello, I was tired of writing. But were you writing sensible things? Other people will make their handwritings big, but whatever they are writing was nonsensible things. So do you think then at the end of the day, he said, no, I didn't get the required marks, but I was writing a lot? Or you are just making your handwriting big for nothing? You can use any textbook as long as it's rated caps. They're fine. Then use your final push. I think by now is the final push. Or use past final push. A final push document is just a document that highlights what you should focus on during your exams. Then use your learner guide too. I believe there's a learner guide for ELO. Use that because it tells you what you should and should not focus on. The next subject is mathematics. In the prelim exam, I got 81. And then in the final exam, I got 78. And then the final exam, I honestly I don't know. This is the same almost distinction I'm talking about. It still pains me up to now. And I got 78 in the final exam. Like I'm still healing. Because mathematics was like my best subject. And then I ended up getting 78. For mathematics, practice every day. My teacher would give me homework almost every day, and I would do that. That would give me somewhat of an experience of how to answer the questions. Then use past papers as well. Yes, past papers, maths, use them, because maths is not your friend. So don't treat it like your friend, it's not your friend. Make sure you use the past papers, use the memos as well. Ask your teacher when you don't understand. And then the resources I would use the Mind the Gap. Mind the Gap is also free on the department's website, so just look for it, you'll find it, where it gives you a summary of the topics. Once you've already understood them, then when you just revise, it's going to be easier. Use your learner guide. The mathematics learner guide is helpful, but not as much. But use it because it's going to show you the proofs you need to know in your head and different things that are required for you to pass the exam. Learner guides as well are there on the department's website. I also used a Siyavula textbook. I also used this book. Siyavula is a very good book. Whenever you are stuck, it's there online. Use this book. The next subject is English. So I was doing English home language. I wasn't doing any FAO because I'm an international student. If there are any international students and you have a valid reason, maybe you're not conversant with the first additional languages, then be smart. I took consumer studies as a second language, and I was still treated fairly by the universities I applied for, so they're still good. But if you've stayed here for a very long time, then you have no option but to suffer with your Afrikaans and isiZulu and all other subjects. So with English, I got 81 in the prelim, and then I got 72 in the final exam. I don't know what happened with English, but that's what happened. Those people who are doing FAO can kind of get some of what I'm saying and then apply it. The resources I used are the final push. The final push is very, very helpful. Use it. They'll release one, or they'll give you, or maybe you already have, or you can find it online as well. Use it because it tells you what the common mistakes are, what you should implement, and what you should improve on in each of the different papers. Use Mind the Gap. Use Mind the Gap, my dear friends. Use Mind the Gap. for paper 2, because I believe there's only for paper 2, but let me give you advice for each papers now. So paper 1 is your language structure, your comprehension and everything. Use a lot of past papers, even when you're in grade 11. Start from grade 11 to grade 12, the content is just the same. So use past papers and look at the memos and answer. Remember the day I was studying for English in Prelim, I studied so much. I did a lot of past papers. I was able to mark myself. I saw how to answer questions, because previously I used to struggle with paper 1. But Prelim is where I saw it. No, it's actually easy. It's when I actually kind of fell in love with English, because I really didn't like English. English was the subject I didn't like the most. It was a period I was not looking forward to the most. Paper 2, use Mind the Gap. Mind the Gap is a very, very good resource, but it's not a substitute for you to read your poems, your novels, and your drama. It's not a substitute. So the drama, we were doing it in class, and then our teacher would also explain. I was doing Hamlet, and then the novel. I didn't read the novel. No, I did read the novel. I forced myself to finish it, even though it took me months up to Prelim, the final exam. But at least make sure you read the first part of the novel, the first few chapters, and the last few chapters of the novel, and the middle part. And also make sure that you still know the novel, you know it inside out, even though you haven't read the novel, but you know what happens because you've watched videos online talking about each chapter, such that when the contextual questions come, you're able to use your knowledge and then know the dubs, okay? Then know how to answer the questions. Make sure you know quotes. Master at least 8 quotes that are helpful. Master at least 8 quotes that you use in the final exam and the prelim, because they'll help you. The novel I was doing was The Picture of Dorian Gray. Then make sure you don't just rely on one thing, like for writing the essay, because other people say, no, I think the novel is easier, like The Picture of Dorian Gray is easier. So I'm just going to do Dorian Gray, the essay, and then the contextual questions I do Hamlet. In the exam, they'll twist and twist and twist the essay question for Dorian Gray, and then the essay for Hamlet is straightforward. Then you still answer a question that is twisted in Dorian Gray. You would have not answered the required question because they have twisted it and you don't have understood it. Make sure you understand the question and make sure you're flexible in both. Memorize quotes, because previously I would think Hamlet questions are hard. In the prelim, it was the Hamlet question which was actually easier. Then the Picture of Dorian Gray question was hard. So be smart and know. I mastered the quotes and use the PEEL method. Point, evidence, explain, link. The PEEL method is a very, very important method. State your point. Hamlet does not value women. He tells Ophelia, get thee to a nunnery. He calls his mother incestuous for marrying his uncle. Hamlet does not value women because of what. This therefore shows that Hamlet, whatever the question is, maybe Hamlet was kind of a villain and not a villain at the same time. Link it back to the question. That's your PEEL method. And then paper 3, the structure doesn't change from grade 11. Make sure you write your essays, know your essays, and you'll be good. Know your transactionals, the formats, the obituary. Did the obituary come? I can't remember. And then also use mnemonics, because mnemonics very help, especially in life sciences. For the obituary, remember I used the mnemonic. There's a way I mastered each letter of the required points, like the opening, when the person was born, B, H, the hobbies, F, the small n, funeral notice, and whatnot. Like you should know those letters and stick them in your mind. cram them before the exam, after the exam forget. The next subject is life sciences. In prelim, I got 88%, and then in the final exam, I got 82. So I didn't start great with life sciences, but ended on a good note. I also didn't like life sciences because it was just too much and I felt it was too boring for me. But I still applied myself. With life sciences, use a lot of mnemonics, a lot of them, because they'll help. Know what those mnemonics stand for as well. So an example is in the meiosis process. I use IPMAT, standing for the interphase, prophase, metaphase, telophase. And then prophase, they go to the P, they go to the pose. Metaphase, the chromatids align at the equator, then you explain other things. Anaphase, they move away from the equator. Telophase, there are two, they become two cells. Two diploid cells, it haplodiploid cells. There are also some collection of past papers where they group them according to the papers, paper 1 and paper 2 questions, and then there are just a lot of questions based on each topic. The resources I used were Understanding Life Sciences, Mind the Gap. Mind the Gap. Mind the Gap is very, very helpful. Understanding Life Sciences, this book as well, is very, very helpful. It is a rare book, I believe, but it was bought centuries ago at my school. So each time, and then I'll just buy and then inherit. With Mind the Gap, use the diagrams at the back as well, where you label like the eye and whatnot, the muscles and all that. And then also use the learner guide. The learner guide in life sciences and physical sciences are the most important of all the subjects, at least of the subjects I was doing, because it tells you what you should study, what you should focus on for that year, the definitions you should know, and all that good stuff. So use your learner guide. Use your learner guide. That's your Bible in life sciences. And then you'll be fine. Then also the same as ELO. Know how to answer your questions in life sciences. That's one thing I struggled with at first, but once I knew, then I was good to go. With life sciences, what you do is look at the mark allocation, and then for each point, state a point and qualify it. Just the same as ELO. The same you should do with life sciences. Physical sciences is divided in two, physics and chemistry. I found chemistry challenging, and I think most people find chemistry challenging. But once you know your story, you're good. So with physical sciences, I got 81 in prelim, and I got 73 in the final exam. Physics, what I can advise you is, with chemistry as well, know the majority of the marks, know the topics with the majority of the marks, and then focus on the basic questions with a lot of marks. Don't struggle or defeat yourself with challenging topics where you're still struggling with. Don't aim for the high order questions before you know the easier questions. Know the definitions, both in physics and chemistry. Know the definitions, because those are straight away easy marks. Once you know them, how you know them? Cram the definition, write it down, mark. Okay, no, is it similar? Is it not? And those same definitions are there in your learner guide. So use your learner guide. The most important learner guide is the one for physical sciences. It's the most important one. It's the most important one. Use it. The same as with chemistry. Use your learner guide. And then organic chemistry, I believe, is one with the most marks. And then also other topics. Focus on that. Organic chemistry is challenging at first. It was also challenging for me. But then there was a day that I just sat and then went through it, understood it slowly and surely without looking at the time, studying it, and I was able to understand. and go through past papers. Go through a lot of past papers because you know what is required of you. Organic chemistry, you're supposed to know the properties, the physical properties of the different elements. Alkanes, alkenes, alkynes, alcohols have hydrogen bonds. So they are the strongest bonds. And you state like it's a story, because I think they're like 3 marks, depending on the number of marks for your high order questions. Use Mind the Gap as well. It's a very, very helpful book. It's a very, very helpful resource. Then also use Siyavula. The Siyavula book is a very, very helpful book. Use the one with memos as well. The book that was prescribed for us to use in class wasn't it. But the Siyavula book is a very good book. Use the one where it even gives you the memos and also the methods to use. Then you'll be fine with physical sciences. And then we go to CAT, Computer Applications Technology. First and foremost, don't underestimate your PAT. Don't underestimate your PAT because your PAT has a lot of weighting for your final mark. So don't underestimate it. Trust me. Use your PAT to get good marks. I got 100% for my PAT. I was not joking. My teacher at first gave me 99, and then we had to fight for that 1 mark. I think got 100%. So I'm not joking when I tell you use your knowledge for your PAT. Use your PAT wise. There's this YouTube channel I was watching. That woman would literally explain the PAT. I'm not sure if she's explained for 2023 and onwards, but she explained for ours and also 2021 and back. So she explained both in Afrikaans and English, and she would give you step-by-step tutorials of how to answer your PAT. She doesn't give you the answers, but she gives you step-by-step instructions of how to do it. And it's because of her that I passed, honestly. Don't rely on other people or whatever. That woman is a very, very good resource. She helps. And then for each phase, she'll give you advice. You still have to research on your topic. Take it very seriously because it's what's going to guarantee that distinction. I honestly didn't think I would get a distinction in CAT. Like, honestly, because it was something that was not it. But because of the PAT and other tips I'll give you, I was able to get my distinction. I got a distinction in both prelim and final exam. I got 81% in prelim and I got 83% in the final exam. And then paper 1, which is the practical. With practical, there are other people who are making it a flex that I don't know how to do Excel. It's hard. It's hard, then what? It's hard, then what? Beatrice, it's hard, then what? Ask for a laptop, find a plan, make a plan if you're not able to afford a laptop. If you are, use your laptop wisely, download the necessary applications, don't just use it for games. If you can't afford one, I think there are internet cafes. Try to make friends with the owners of the internet cafes and use them. If you're able to go to your school, I'm sure your teacher will not be hesitant to help you because they understand that it's your future, provided your teacher is someone who is smart in the head. There are also past papers for CAT, if you don't know. There are past papers, search for them on the department's website, ask your teacher for questions, and then do them. So you look at the question, you try as much as possible to solve the question, then look at the memo. It will show you at least the different steps. If you don't understand a step in the memo, or if you looked at the memo and still don't understand, ask your teacher. He or she will help you for sure. HTML was my favorite, and I guess it's what also led me to study IT in university. And then paper 2, theory was like my weakest point. And the sad part is that it has 150 marks. So you have to find a plan of how to answer it. So with theory, try as much as possible to study the content. I don't think I fully studied that textbook. because CAT was just not making sense for me. I would use YouTube resources like Mr. Long. He would explain, Mr. Hamburi, I think, as well. Those people really did explain. How I passed theory is I would cram. I would study the questions, see the structure, a lot of past papers, so that because they repeat questions for CAT and they repeat the structure, so how to match the definitions and whatnot. And then if you don't understand a certain concept, you search on Google, search on YouTube, so that you understand it well. Theory was just about cramming for me, honestly, such that in the final exam, I had crammed so much. When we wrote the final theory exam, I felt it like, here, I have passed this paper. Like I felt it, that these questions were actually easy, man. The questions in the final exam were easier than the past papers I was studying. And that was a plus for me, and that was good for me. The resources I used, past papers, like I said, and then use the PAT document. That's the most important document. You'll find it online as well. Then the last subject, I believe, is consumer studies. For consumer studies is the subject that has the least advice and content out there. So if I'm helping a few individuals, that would be great. So people think consumer studies is just cooking when it's not. The theory is the most hardest. You have to be strong with the theory. Practical. With the practical, make sure you know what your teacher wants. If say you make a mistake, be smart about it when asking. If you think you can figure it out, then do just that. Because I noticed that the less you ask, only ask when it's desperate times. Desperate times call for desperate measures. Then make sure you're fast. Look at YouTube videos of how to cook certain things and you'll be fine. Know what your teacher wants, basically. Know what your teacher likes and make them happy. And then for the theory, this is the book I used, the answer series book. The answer series 3-in-1 is a very, 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 very good book. Better than the textbook I was using. I had lost a textbook at the beginning of the year. Whoever it is who stole my textbook, shame on him. The answer series is a very good book. It also has past papers and questions at the back and questions in after each topic. Use those because those are the required answers that examiners want. I remember they had repeated most, or at least some of the questions in one of the past papers at the back of the answer series book. In either the June test or first term. And I was covered because I looked at them and I did very well. Theory will obviously be a lower mark than your practical. So make sure you put in your best in your practical such that it pushes your theory marks. Use mnemonics for consumer studies and then cram. Consumer theory is just about cramming. You cram as much as you can. Then you kind of forget. For other subjects like business studies is a theory subject and it's not easy, I know. I wasn't doing it in matric, but I did business management in varsity. And from the little experience I got from varsity, I was able to get a distinction. Even though I didn't do business, it wasn't easy. What I can tell you is make sure you understand the concepts in business studies. Understand it as much as you can. Then do your past papers, look at the memos, ask your teachers, and then also try to use mnemonics as well because there's a lot, at least from just from the work I did in varsity. I could see that no man. So try to use a lot of mnemonics, ways you can memorize and master things, and you'll be fine. With that being said, I hope these tips and tricks will help you, and I believe in each and one of you. You ought to believe in yourselves too. I wish you all the best in your final and prelim exams. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please give it a like, comment and subscribe. And I'll be seeing you guys next time. Bye. Peace.